Tony Stewart just shut the door on NASCAR, and it wasn't subtle. Not a maybe, not a we'll see, a flat-out no, rooted in a moment he says changed everything. Tony Stewart says he has zero interest in taking any official role with NASCAR. The reason goes back to a 2015 meeting between drivers and NASCAR leadership. Around 20 drivers came together with 5 key ideas to improve the sport. According to Stewart, every single one was dismissed. He says NASCAR leadership acted like the drivers didn't understand the sport. That moment pushed him toward retirement, which came in 2016. Since then, Stewart has stayed away from NASCAR in any formal capacity, and he's made it clear that hasn't changed. This isn't just frustration, it's history. Back in the mid-2010s, there was growing tension between drivers and NASCAR leadership. Drivers felt the racing product needed improvement. They wanted more input on how the cars handled and how the competition played out. So they organized multiple drivers, multiple teams, one unified message. That rarely happens in NASCAR. But instead of collaboration, Stewart described as shut down. No compromise, no adjustments, no adjustments. And for someone like Tony Stewart, a champion driver and a team owner that hit differently because he wasn't just speaking for himself. He was speaking for the garage. That's why he says that meeting didn't just frustrate him. It changed his long-term outlook on the sport. Let's break down what this really means. Tony Stewart's reaction highlights a deeper issue that NASCAR has wrestled with for years: control versus collaboration. At that time, NASCAR operated with a top-down approach. Decisions were made at the executive level. Driver feedback, it existed, but it didn't always shape outcomes. Stewart's story suggests a breaking point. When drivers feel ignored, they disengage. And when someone like Stewart disengages, you lose more than a voice. You lose experience, perspective, and credibility inside the decision-making process. Now, here's where it gets more interesting. NASCAR today is not the same organization it was in 2015. In recent years, there's been a noticeable shift toward involving drivers in major decisions. From car development to competition changes, the collaboration has increased. You've seen respected names brought into discussions. You've seen feedback loops improve. Even active drivers are now directly communicating with leadership and influencing adjustments. That's a major evolution. But here's the challenge. Change doesn't erase history. For Stewart, the damage was already done. Trust, once broken at that level, doesn't reset easily. And that's why even with NASCAR adapting, he's not interested in coming back in any official role. From a strategic standpoint, that's significant because Stewart represents a bridge between eras. Old school racing mentality combined with modern ownership experience, and NASCAR not having that voice at the table, that's a loss. At the same time, there's risk on the other side too. If NASCAR leans too heavily on driver input, it can blur the line between governance and competition. Drivers want better racing, but they also want advantages. Balancing that is not easy. So the sport is walking a tightrope. Be collaborative, but stay structured. Fans are going to see this in 2 different ways. Some will side with Stewart. They'll view him as someone who stood up for drivers and got ignored. Others will say the sport has moved on, that NASCAR has improved in holding on to old frustrations doesn't reflect the current reality. Media reaction is more nuanced. There's recognition that Stewart's criticism reflects a real issue from that era, but there's also acknowledgement that NASCAR has taken steps to evolve since then. So the debate isn't just about who's right, it's about whether the past should still define the present. NASCAR continues building trust with drivers, collaboration strengthens, and the sport benefits from a balance between leadership and driver input even without Stewart's involvement. Old tensions resurface. Driver trust starts to slip again. And NASCAR risks repeating the same disconnect that pushed voices like Stewart away in the first place. So here's the question. Has NASCAR truly changed? Or is Tony Stewart's reaction a reminder of something still unresolved? Because if the sport wants full trust from its biggest voices, that history can't just be ignored. Drop your thoughts below, and for real, in-depth coverage of the biggest stories in motorsports, subscribe to SportsWire USA.